What's good, y'all? It's Noble. Today I'm going to be showing y'all how to make your drums hit. I'm going to be showing y'all my process behind having your beats have room and bounce simultaneously, which is something that a lot of newer producers struggle with. And of course, I'm going to show y'all my mixing tips as well. For this video, I'm going to be using the high class drum kit. Link should be first in the description. Make sure y'all go get that. Crazy drum kit full of great sounds. Shout out to TB. Yeah, man, without further ado, let's go straight into the video. Alright, so before we start making the beat, this is what the sample sounds like. This is a sample I made with my boy Tail. Alright, so as you can see, this sample has a lot of emotion and body behind it. It's really full. So I'm not going to have too many drum sounds since the sample is so full. But the ones that I do add are going to make sense in the way that I use them. And there's not going to be any fluff. Everything is going to have a purpose. Alright, so for sound selection, something that a lot of people don't know is the best way to find sounds is to go through them while the sample is playing. Something might sound good in its own, but it might not fit with the rest of the beat. So that's why it's best to go through the sounds while you're listening to the sample or beat. Something that a lot of people don't realize is really important for drum bounce is utilizing velocities, not only with 808s, but also with things like hi-hats. For example, look at the hi-hat pattern that I made here. So you can see that I'm using rolls, but what's really making them work well is the way that I'm using the velocities with them. And I also have these kind of stutter notes that are following the notes hitting on the ones. So make sure you not only utilize rolls in your hi-hat patterns, but also velocity. In my opinion, the best way to use snares is to almost use them as accents. Snares are more of ear candy in my opinion, and when you use a snare and a clap that has a little bit of snare sound behind it, they work really well together. It's also definitely important to mix as you go. As you see, I'm adjusting the levels here, and also just add some loop writer. Damn, my fucking dog gotta chill, bro. Alright, so what I just did was use percussion not as a perk, but as a little bit of an accent or ear candy. So I noticed that the clap had a lot of mid, but it didn't have enough high end. So I added this perk called crunching, and now we got this. So with open hats, you can get experimental, but I found what the best thing to do is just go simple. Usually have your open hats on the 1 and the 4 or the 1 and the 8. But another thing that I do like to do is to copy the open hat and reverse it into itself, which is what I'm about to do right now. Yeah, the fuck? That's crazy. Alright, so usually at this point is where I will add the 808. This is really the most important part of your beat. I'm gonna show you how to make sure that you're doing it right. One of the most important things with 808s is sound selection. You want to be choosing an 808 that really matches the vibe of the sample. For example, a Zay 808 probably isn't gonna sound good with an R&B sample. And it's not like it's really black and white. You just kind of have to make the decisions for yourself based on what sounds good. And once you get into a pattern and repetition, you'll get to really feel it out easier. Alright, so I went through the high class 808s and I couldn't find anything that really fit this sample, which is okay. Producers really need to realize that you don't need to use just one kit for a beat. Obviously use what's most convenient, but also make sure to take that extra 2 seconds to find the sound that really fits best. These 808s are crazy hard, but I really want to find something soft. When you start your 808 patterns, definitely turn this hold down all the way. Something that producers used to do a lot was just use the cut itself feature, where you go here and select this. Alright, so as you listen, you're going to notice that everything's hitting right except for this one note. This low A sharp here is a little bit too low. And so that's why I find it's best to add the 808 before you mess with the pitch of the sample that you're using. So that way you know what key is going to sound good with the 808 you have. one. Hopefully this sounds good. I honestly might go up one more. Alright, so for the bounce with this 808 pattern, I tried to keep it really simple, but what I did do is add variation, and you're going to see how that plays a role with the first part of the phrase. You'll see in the beginning I have it play out for longer, in the end I have 2 notes closer to each other, and then here I have 2 notes where here I only have 1. So that way you're creating variation going along with the bounce that everything else already has. So for the kick, I went with the Debtor's kick from High Class. And something that probably seems weird to you is that I only have 1 kick in the whole pattern. This is because I basically went through and I put a kick on every 808 note. Some didn't sound right, some sounded a little bit off, but this one sounded perfect. So I kept it on just this note. Also, remember to keep your projects organized, rename things, make it easier on yourself, and whoever you may end up sending FLPs to. Alright, so now that the body of the beat is done, let's take a look at how many sounds we have. So in total we have 9 sounds, which is not that much at all. You don't need to be making beats with like 35 sounds and 35 mixer tracks. Just keep it simple, pick a good sample, and make sure that every sound you do add has a purpose. That's really how you achieve bounce. No unnecessary sounds, no filler noises. Percussion accents are okay, but only when they're enhancing the bounce. Now for the mixing secrets, is pretty simple. The most important thing is to use a clipper on your master and always have it be the first slot. I like to use a Fruity Soft clipper, or sometimes I use a TR5 one. Either one works fine, just make sure you have a soft clipper at the top slot in your master. Next thing I like to use is an EQ to boost the highs. Boosting the highs in your beats always sounds really good, and I've even started doing this in samples as well. As for using this one instead of the EQ2, really the only reasoning is that I feel like it gives it more grit, and I just boost it like this much. Now it may seem weird that I have a little bit of subs taken out, but the reasoning behind that is actually to give the artist a little bit of room. Our beats have way more bass than we think they do, so I like to decrease the sub just by a little bit, and then boost the highs again, but not by much. So with everything we get this.
Let's go, Noble.
That's about it for the video, y'all. Hope you enjoyed. If you did, make sure to subscribe to the Team PG channel. We really do appreciate it. Most of all, make sure you go cop that High Class drum kit. Link is going to be the first in the description, and I use it for almost every drum sound in this beat. Make sure to keep experimenting. Do what sounds good to you. And if you need to go to certain sections of the video to find things that I talked about, I'll leave timestamps in the description. But yeah, man, hope this helped you out with your drum bounce. But real quick before I go, I just gotta say I have a crazy one-shot kit on the way. It's called Aurora, and it's about to be nuts. But yeah, man, make sure y'all stay tuned for that. And if you want my most recent one-shot kit called Cadence, the link will be right under High Class. Make sure y'all get that. I'm out of here. Peace.